everyone. Welcome back to Daily Easy English Talk. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. Thanks for joining us.
Today we're getting into something really practical, something we all face, right? Feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Receiving it,
Yeah.
whether it's, great praise or maybe some constructive stuff that's kind of hard to hear. How you respond is just so critical for growth, for relationships, everything. It can be tricky, though.
It really can. And that's what we're digging into. Because getting that response right isn't just like good manners.
Right.
It's a core skill, a thoughtful reply.
Yeah.
It can genuinely shift the whole conversation, turn something awkward into, well, an opportunity.
An opportunity to learn, definitely. So our goal today is to give you some specific, polite, but actually quite strategic phrases, tools, really.
Exactly. Tools to show you're professional, you're listening, and you're actually committed to getting better. Powerful stuff.
Okay, let's get into the first one. It seems basic, but it's foundational.
Which is?
Simply, thank you, I appreciate your input.
Yes. The starting point.
Yeah. Someone says, your presentation felt a bit rushed there. Boom. Thank you, I appreciate your input. Simple. But why does it work so well?
Well, it immediately does something really important. It builds psychological safety.
Psychological safety. Explain that a bit.
It basically tells the person giving the feedback, hey, it's safe to talk to me, I'm listening. It kind of disarms any potential tension right away.
Ah, okay. So it makes them more likely to be honest again later.
Precisely. It validates their effort, shows you value their perspective, even if you don't agree with everything yet, sets a collaborative tone, not a defensive one.
Okay, so that's the opener, gratitude. But what if the feedback is clearly pointing out something you need to, fix?
Right. So you've said thanks. Now what?
Yeah.
That brings us to phrase number 2. That's helpful. I'll work on it.
Direct. I like it.
It acknowledges the point, sure, but the key part is I'll work on it. That signals commitment, action.
So it's showing that growth mindset, like, okay, noted, I'm going to improve.
Spot on. You're basically saying, I see this as data for getting better. It turns feedback from just, a comment into an action item for your own development.
Reception to intention.
Okay, I'll work on it. Solid. But what if the feedback's a bit fuzzy or you're not sure how you'll work on it yet?
That's a fair point. You might need to circle back later and ask clarifying questions.
Right.
But that immediate response that I'll work on it still shows the intent to take it seriously. That's often the most important thing in that moment.
Gotcha. Now, sometimes feedback hits on something you genuinely hadn't seen, a real blind spot.
Oh, yeah, those aha moments, sometimes prompted by others.
Exactly. For that, we've got, I hadn't thought of it that way, thank you.
Ooh, I like that one. Very open.
Right. Someone says, maybe try tackling it from this angle. And go, I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for pointing it out. It shows you're really reflecting.
And it's more than just being humble, isn't it? It's demonstrating cognitive flexibility. You're showing you're willing to shift your perspective. Yeah, breaking free from just your own view. Crucial for actually learning something new.
Definitely. It communicates real curiosity. Like you're genuinely processing it, not just nodding along. Invites more discussion, maybe.
Okay. And building on that, what if you want more? Like the feedback is good, but you want specifics.
Being proactive. Good.
Yeah. So thanks for the feedback. Is there anything else you'd suggest?
Nice. Turn it into a request for more guidance.
Exactly. Someone says, good job, maybe tweak the ending. You can say, thanks for the feedback. Is there anything else specific you think I could improve for next time?
See, that's smart because it encourages them to think more deeply too. How can they help you grow? It creates a sort of feedback loop.
Right, something more collaborative.
Yeah.
Aimed at getting better together.
From one-way street to a two-way conversation. Much more productive.
Okay, final one. This is for when the feedback is, difficult. Maybe it stings a bit.
The tough stuff, yeah. Critical but necessary sometimes.
So for that moment, try. I appreciate you being honest with me.
Powerful. Takes maturity.
It does. Someone gives you that hard truth and responding, I appreciate you being honest with me. I'll take that seriously. Shows you can handle it. You value truth over comfort.
And that speaks volumes about your resilience, your emotional intelligence. You're saying, okay, this is tough, but I value growth more.
It builds trust, too, I imagine. Shows you won't just shut down.
Absolutely. Signals respect for their courage in saying it, too.
So let's quickly recap. 5 key phrases, really. Thank you. I appreciate your input for that initial gratitude and safety.
Yep.
That's helpful. Work on it to show commitment and that growth mindset.
Crucial.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for acknowledging blind spots and showing flexibility.
Openness.
Thanks for the feedback. Is there anything else you'd suggest to proactively seek more detail?
Creating that loop.
And finally, I appreciate you being honest with me for handling that tough, critical feedback with maturity.
Handling the heat.
Yeah. Try weaving these into your conversations when feedback comes up. Seriously, even small shifts in how you respond can really change the dynamic, accelerate your learning, too.
It's so true. And, zooming out a bit, beyond just these specific phrases, the real takeaway here is about cultivating that mindset.
Tell me more.
Just being genuinely open to input. Seeing feedback not as criticism to deflect, but as, fuel for continuous improvement. Actively engaging with it. That's a path to getting really good at, anything.
Okay, so we've dug into these 5 core phrases. We know what they mean, why they work, some of the nuances. Now, this is where it gets really practical and hopefully quite fun. We're moving into part 2. Putting these phrases into practice, we're going to do some mini conversations, some quick role plays to show you exactly how these phrases can slot into real life chats and instantly make them better. Remember, we're aiming for natural dialogue here. And after each little exchange, one of us will kind of unpack why that specific phrase worked so well right then and what it actually achieved.
Okay, for our first dialogue, let's tackle workplace feedback. A really common scenario. A colleague or manager gives you feedback on a presentation you just gave. There's often that urge, almost unconscious, to defend your choices or explain why you did things a certain way. But watch how the right response shifts things towards progress.
All right, ready to jump in?
Let's do it. Role play start.
Your presentation was good overall, but honestly, the slides were pretty text-heavy. I found myself reading them more than listening to what you were saying.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your input. That's a really clear point. It helps me understand where to focus. I'll definitely make sure to simplify the slides and use more visuals next time. Role play end. Okay, let's unpack that one. Notice how the response immediately starts with gratitude. Thank you. I appreciate your input. Even though it's constructive criticism that could easily make someone defensive. It's direct, polite, signals immediate acceptance, totally sidestepping any need to explain or excuse, and adding, that's a really clear point, helps me understand where to focus, explicitly connects their feedback to your learning process.
Yeah, and what's really key here is how it immediately pivots to clear, proactive action. I'll definitely make sure to simplify the slides and use more visuals next time.
Okay, for our next dialogue, let's shift to a class assignment scenario. Picture a student getting feedback on an essay, maybe not just about the content, but about the argument's structure or clarity. In this situation, it's easy to feel misunderstood or like your effort wasn't fully appreciated, right?
Definitely. Let's see how the toolkit helps navigate that academic pressure. Roleplay start.
You had some really strong original points in this essay, but your overall argument needs a much clearer, more sequential structure to really connect with the reader effectively.
Okay, that's incredibly helpful feedback. I can definitely see how a stronger structure would make my points hit harder. I'll absolutely work on outlining more carefully and making the flow clearer in my next paper. Roleplay end. Okay, here's where it gets really effective in an academic setting. That phrase, that's incredibly helpful, really stands out, doesn't it? It acknowledges the value of the advice immediately, reframing critique as assistance, not judgment. And then it pivots straight to, I'll absolutely work on outlining more carefully and making the flow clearer in my next paper. It signals immediate intent and commitment to applying the lesson.
All right, let's switch gears again. Move to a more personal setting. Friendly advice. Imagine a candid chat with a trusted friend, maybe about a social habit they noticed in a group. This kind of feedback can be super awkward, right?
Yeah.
High potential for defensiveness, maybe even straining the friendship if it's handled badly, because it often touches on things we don't even realize we're doing.
Absolutely. This is where emotional intelligence and really valuing the relationship comes into play. Role play start. Hey, can I mention something from the team meeting yesterday? I just noticed you might have interrupted Sarah a couple of times when she was trying to speak.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought of it that way. Thank you so much for pointing that out. Honestly, I didn't realize I was doing it. I really appreciate you telling me. Role play end.
This response is incredibly powerful because of its humility and openness. I hadn't even thought of it that way. And immediately disarms potential defensiveness because it's a genuine admission of, well, maybe a blind spot. It opens a clear path for self-reflection. It validates the friend's observation, recognizing the courage it took them to bring it up. And crucially, it encourages them to be honest again in the future. They know their input is valued and won't be met with resistance. It's a perfect example of how acknowledging a blind spot can actually strengthen a friendship, not strain it.
Okay, next up, a team review scenario. Back to a professional team setting. Specific project performance is being reviewed, maybe with suggestions for future improvement that go beyond just this one task. The initial feedback might be positive, but then comes the but or the and that signals the next area for development.
Yeah, a prime chance for strategic communication to really show initiative. Roleplay start, look, you handled the project really well, especially given that tight deadline. Moving forward, I just suggest you provide more proactive follow-up communications to the stakeholders next time. Just keep them in the loop more consistently.
Okay, thanks for that valuable feedback. And I appreciate the positive note, too. That means a lot. On the follow-up piece, is there anything else specific you'd recommend? Or maybe an approach you found works best for keeping everyone updated without overwhelming them? Role play end. This is a fantastic example of turning feedback into a deeper development conversation. The initial feedback is balanced positive with a clear growth area. What's so smart and impactful about the response, especially that follow-up question?
What's really striking here is the proactive move to immediately seek more specific, detailed advice. Is there anything else specific you'd recommend or an approach you found works best? That shows real initiative, a desire for comprehensive improvement, not just ticking a box. If we zoom out to the team environment, it positions you as a continuous learner, a highly valuable team member who's genuinely invested in honing skills and maximizing contribution. It's about using the initial feedback as a launch pad for even greater professional development.
Okay, for our final role play, let's consider a personal talk. This is a sensitive, maybe emotionally charged check-in from someone who genuinely cares about you. They're implying concern about your well-being or your current state. This requires a really delicate, authentic, maybe even vulnerable response because it's touching on something deeper than just a task or a habit.
Right. This is where the emotional stakes are often highest, and the trust you've built is really being tested in a good way. Role play start. Hey, I've noticed you seem a bit quiet and distracted lately, like something's weighing on you. Is everything okay?
Wow. I really appreciate you being honest with me and actually noticing that. It's true. I guess I have been a bit distracted, and hearing you say it makes me realize I probably need to try to be more present. I'll really work on being more focused. Thanks for checking in. Role play end.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this last one. This is maybe the most personal, potentially difficult type of feedback to get right. It touches on your personal state, your emotional well-being. How does that response navigate such sensitive territories so effectively? Why is it so powerful?
This response taps into the incredible power of vulnerability and raw honesty, leveraging that deep relational trust. I really appreciate you being honest with me and noticing that directly acknowledges the courage and care it took for them to say something so personal. It immediately builds or reinforces trust. It strengthens the relationship because you're showing you're willing to engage with difficult truths about yourself, not just deflect.
All right, fantastic. Now it's your turn to practice. We're going to shift into a section designed for you, the listener, to get involved. We'll describe a situation, and we want you to take a moment, think, and mentally formulate your own polite, effective response using the toolkit we've just explored. Remember, practice really is key to building confidence and making these skills second nature in real-time situations. Take a beat after we describe each one.
Yeah, consider which phrase, or maybe a blend of phrases, feels right for the situation, and reflect on why that specific response would be the most effective choice there.
Okay, first up, situation 1.
Your boss tells you your report was late, a classic professional pressure point. The immediate urge might be to offer a long list of reasons why. How do you respond effectively and politely, showing accountability without getting bogged down in excuses? Pause. Okay, the suggested response here, hitting all the right notes. Thanks for the feedback. I understand the importance of deadlines, and I'll work on getting it in earlier next time. Notice how it immediately accepts responsibility, no excuses, and crucially, offers that forward-looking commitment to improvement. Focuses on the future, not the past.
And this response is exactly what most managers want to hear. Not justifications, but clear accountability and a concrete plan for future action.
All right, next scenario. Situation 2. A friend says your tone sounded kind of serious or maybe aggressive in a group chat. A common social hiccup, right? Tone gets lost in text all the time. You might feel misunderstood or unfairly judged. How do you handle it to keep the friendship strong and the group chat positive? Pause. A great response here, showing openness and valuing their viewpoint. Oh, really? I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you for letting me know. That definitely wasn't my intention, and I'll be more mindful of how things might sound in text. This response beautifully shows open-mindedness and appreciation for their honesty, even casually. It acknowledges a potential blind spot without getting defensive and clarifies your intent.
This immediately diffuses any tension, shows humility, and actually strengthens the friendship because you're valuing their perspective on your social impact.
All right, next practice scenario. You receive constructive criticism on a creative project, maybe a design, a piece of writing, where the feedback feels very subjective. Perhaps it doesn't quite align with your artistic vision. You poured yourself into this, so the feedback might feel personal, even if meant helpfully. How do you respond professionally without compromising your vision or getting defensive? Pause. A strong response balancing professionalism and creative integrity could sound like this. Thank you for your input and for taking the time to share your perspective on this. I appreciate you bringing a different lens to the project, and I'll definitely take your suggestions into consideration as I continue to refine it. This shows gratitude, acknowledges their unique viewpoint, different lens, and clearly states you'll consider a key word, leaving room for your judgment without being dismissive.
Yeah, that response navigates the tricky subjective feedback on creative work really elegantly. Using appreciate you bringing a different lens validates their perspective, acknowledges the value of diverse views, even if you don't adopt every suggestion, and take your suggestions into consideration, signals receptiveness without promising to implement everything, preserving your creative autonomy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just reiterate that core message.
Oh, yeah.
Feedback, even when it feels challenging sometimes, is truly an invaluable catalyst for both personal growth and professional development. It's not just a review, it's more like a compass.
And mastering polite, professional, and genuinely effective responses isn't just about good manners. It's a clear, unmistakable sign of emotional maturity, deep self-awareness, and a lifelong active commitment to learning and evolving. It really separates those who plateau from those who just keep ascending.
Remember, every single piece of feedback you get, whether it's a glowing compliment that makes your day, a subtle suggestion that helps you tweak your approach, or a direct constructive critique that pushes you outside your comfort zone. Every piece is truly a gift. It's an unmatched opportunity to gain a clearer, more objective view of ourselves and to continuously refine how we interact with the world. It leads to greater effectiveness and, honestly, deeper connections.
So here's a final thought to take with you. Consider the very next piece of feedback you receive, and you will receive it, we all do, probably sooner than you think. How will you choose to respond now that you have these tools and this deeper understanding? How will you actively maximize that moment, that opportunity for your own profound growth and development? It's not just a reaction anymore, it's a strategic choice, and that choice is always yours to make.
Well, that's all for this deep dive. We hope you found these tips useful.
And if you did, please do follow and subscribe to Daily Easy English Talk. Share it with anyone else you think might find it helpful too.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We'll be back soon with another deep dive next time